In 1993, Emmitt Smith had perhaps his greatest season. The season didn't begin the way it ended. Emmitt Smith and Jerry Jones were in a vicious contract dispute. Jones thought that anyone could run behind that line, and Emmitt Smith was a possible liability. But when Dallas lost 2 of their first 3 games, all hell broke loose.
The Bills now lead 10-3, and it isn't getting better yet for the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, it won't get better until they put Emmitt Smith back in the puzzle, because he's the missing piece, and they took a long time to build that puzzle. Took them 4 years to build a Super Bowl football team. They're going to destroy it in 1 year if they don't get him back in it, so they better get him signed.
Jones saw enough, retracted his statement, and signed Smith to the most lucrative contract for a running back in history.
Hi everybody, I'm Gary Bender. The Super Bowl champion Cowboys at 0-2 were a very disturbed team. They got a big emotional lift this Thursday when Emmitt Smith gave up his 63-day holdout to become the highest paid running back in the National Football League, and this Cowboy team is ecstatic about his return.
Smith came back into the lineup in Week 3, and the rest is history. A Super Bowl victory, Super Bowl MVP, League MVP, and the rushing title. Emmitt is still the only football player to ever have all of these accomplishments in one season. In this video, I'm going to break down each of his best rushing yard performance of the regular season, starting in Week 10 versus the second-place Giants.
And the Cowboys have a lot of firepower.
And you talk about a running back that's hot. How about this guy, Emmitt Smith? Last week, he gained 237 yards. And he said yesterday he's ready for another day like that today.
Both the Cowboys and Giants were 5-2, fighting for first place in the division. The Giants had the 7th best rushing defense in football, holding running backs to just 7 touchdowns all season up until that point. The Giants' defense had played against 2 top 10 rushers up to that point, Thurman Thomas and Jerome Bettis. Thomas got the best of them, but Bettis was shut down to just 33 yards rushing. So the Giants had the capability of shutting down an elite running back. But Smith wasn't just an elite running back. He was the best running back in the league. And Dallas was at home, where Smith had gashed them just a season ago in the last game they played. Smith wasn't finished. He was about to do it again.
Yeah, the guys that really have to make the tackles, the way this defense of the Giants is set up is Michael Brooks and Carlton Bailey, the 2 inside guys. What the defensive line does is they try and just foul up blocking combinations, hold the offensive line, not let them get to the inside linebackers, and then Bailey and Brooks are the leading tacklers on this team, and they have to be because they're the guys they try and free out to make the tackle.
The Giants ran a 3-man front and 4 linebackers. The concept was the same as it was in the 80s during the Bill Belichick years. The difference was that they were more beefed up in the interior, and the iconic Lawrence Taylor wasn't starting, but was regulated to a rotational situational linebacker. Unlike previous years, where the focus was on the outside linebacker, the scheme now evolved around the 2 interior linebackers. Bailey and Brooks were the leading tacklers for the Giants up until their game. The scheme was similar to the Ravens' defense with Ray Lewis. The defensive line is to hold up the offensive line in order to free the linebackers. But there was a huge problem. You see, the Dallas offensive line was built for that concept. Dallas started the game by running right at the strength of the Giants' defense.
He's a good football player.
Here's Smith. Hit right at the line of scrimmage by Brooks. And Brooks didn't give.
And that's exactly the way this defense is supposed to work. We were talking about the inside linebackers making the tackle. Michael Brooks is the guy. You see the line is going to take on the blocks, and you're going to see 94. Boom, right there. See, he's free. No blocker could get on him, so he's free. And when you're free, you have to make that tackle.
When I tell you this was a man's game in the trenches, believe me, it was. But again, this is what Smith, Johnston, and that offensive line were built for, the trenches.
He may be used on special occasions. This is Smith on the lead draw as they run the flank. So 3rd and short, about a yard. Novacek lined up on the flank to the right. Smith gets the first down.
Johnston haven't gone to their outside receiver yet.
Smith again. First down, Emmitt Smith.
Aikman was literally on fire during this game.
Aikman with time. Second down, Aikman back to throw it. Good pressure.
Bounced him out.
Aikman with time going for a bunch to Harper, touchdown.
But then got hurt on a scramble, and that is when Dallas leaned on Smith for the rest of the day.
But walk back limping. Newton in the front of Emmitt Smith.
Hold the hamstring.
3rd and 2. Emmitt Smith. Emmitt inside the 20 to about the 18. The Giants 17. Garrett gives to Emmitt Smith. Emmitt
I think the tale of the story was on the goal line when Smith ran right into the heart of the Giants defense.
Try to move again. No. Try Emmitt Smith. Touchdown. Stop blitzing.
And I think they're going to bring up that reverse pass, but I agree with that. You just go out and play.
Touchdown again. Signal the yes by Emmitt Smith.
To me, runs like this establish a philosophy that long runs just can't do. Smith ended up with 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. Dallas blew out the Giants 31-9. Fast forward to week 14. The Cowboys had just lost 2 games in a row to the Falcons and Dolphins in a classic Thanksgiving game. So, to keep up with the Giants, this game was important for Dallas. They desperately needed this win. But the Eagles were not going to give up this game that easily. Also, this was a revenge game for them from how Smith embarrassed them just a few weeks ago. A game that we will see on our list as we go on. Despite being sacked 4 times, Troy Aikman completed 17 passes for 178 yards and the first quarter score to Michael Irvin.
He missed opportunities, and that's what they had when Eric Allen didn't intercept that pass. 1st and 10 from the 11. Aikman to the corner. Touchdown.
Smith ran a monster 57-yard run.
Aikman on 1st down gives the ball to Emmitt Smith. He breaks one through the middle. He's out in front. And Emmitt Smith. They have 10-0 Cowboys. Novacek in motion. And the Eagles jumping at the line of scrimmage. A flag is down. Smith breaking loose. Inside the 30. Loses the football.
Dallas ended up beating the Eagles 23-17, and Emmitt Smith ended up gaining 172 yards on the ground.
It is a misty and surreal Halloween setting at Veterans Stadium for the Cowboys and the Eagles.
It was a rainy, cold, spooky afternoon in Eagletown on Halloween. Dallas went into this game as the top-rated passing offense in football.
The #1 offense in pro football, directed by Troy Aikman.
The Eagles' game plan? Take away Michael Irvin and Troy Aikman. The Eagles were in an aggressive concept versus the Dallas Cowboys offense. If you notice, Dallas is in a 21 personnel concept. But if you see here, the Eagles are in some kind of cover 4 defense, which is a huge mistake, especially against the Dallas Cowboys. You do not run a cover 4 defense against the 21 offense unless you don't respect the run game. To run a cover 4 versus the best rushing attack in football is just insanity. Before this game, the headlines was that the Eagles needed to stop the run.
How can Philadelphia compete with the Super Bowl champs today?
Well, the keys for the Philadelphia Eagles are to take advantage of every opportunity they get offensively, and defensively just going to have to stop the run at Emmitt Smith, because Dallas, in these weather conditions, will run the ball at least 45 times.
I mean, this wasn't a secret. Everyone knew this, except for the Philadelphia Eagles. I have no idea what they were thinking coming into this game. I'm honest, you can't make this stuff up.
Right now, the Dallas passing game seems to be typified by the attitude or the body language of Jay Novacek, looking back to the officials like, hey, they're not supposed to hold us. How can they do that to us? We're the best passing offense in the league. Well, right now, Philadelphia is treating them as just any old offense right now, and the key is they're being very, very aggressive with the receivers.
One of many ignorant game plans the Eagles had against Dallas over the years. You don't want a game plan for the reigning rushing title leader? That's fine. Watch history happen.
For touchdowns this year. On 2nd and 2, Smith picks up the first down. Out to 1st down, 10. 3rd straight carry. Smith again into the secondary. Breaks away and dragged down by Eric Allen. Harold Johnston, that's where they got to go. Emmitt Smith, 1st down, and all the way to the 23. 2nd down, 17. Smith.
He opened up the game by rushing for 65 yards in the first quarter. In the second quarter, Johnson kept feeding the legend. He had 64 yards in the second quarter.
Noski doesn't look like he really belongs there size-wise.
Molehill. 2nd and 7, and it's Smith. Bounces into Harper. Smith. The 40. Now, your thoughts so far in this game?
So far, Dallas has sort of had its way running the ball. Philadelphia and their defensive coordinator, Bud Carson, has done a fine job of, I think, stifling really the pass offense of the Cowboys. But the Cowboys have said, fine, we're just going to run the ball at you.
But it wasn't until the fourth quarter where he broke off a monster 62-yard touchdown.
Series for the Cowboys. Smith, it's outside. Look out. Inside of the 20. First down, 2nd and 4. They have a first down and more. Goodbye. 62 yards to put the game away.
Smith ended up having 94 yards in the fourth quarter alone, and a record-breaking 237 yards rushing on the night. That was the 6th best total by a back in history, and the most yards by a back since Walter Payton did it in the 70s.
How good they are, John. What exactly makes them so good?
Well, I think when you talk about pro football, you have to talk about the quarterback, and when you talk about the quarterback, you talk about Troy Aikman, and you look what he's done. Here's a guy who just got a contract for $50 million, and he's probably worth it. He leads the league in completion percentage. Then you have that. That's the throwing part. Then you need the other part, the running part, and they have Emmitt Smith, who I think is the best running back in all of football. And I'll tell you, he's going to get the ball a lot early today, and he is really ready to go. But you know the thing that makes it all worthwhile and makes it all possible is this group right here, the offensive line. These are the guys. When you have the top quarterback and you have the top running game, this front line has to do the job.
This game needs no introduction. So much was at stake in this game. The playoffs, Emmitt Smith's pride and legacy. People still had their doubts about Smith. Was the contract too much? Is Smith a product of his line? And could Jones get another running back to run behind this line at a cheaper price?
Well, what about this kid Lincoln Kennedy? Well, first of all, big 44 weighs...
Lincoln Coleman, guys, not Lincoln Kennedy. Yes.
First of all, he weighs 250 pounds, came in with about 4 days left in training camp, really does have unique skills for a 250-pounder, and I sat down with Mike. Mike gave me so much grief about not having Emmitt Smith on this team, and I said, Mike, do you realize he makes about 2% of what Emmitt makes, and look at him run that ball.
Wait a minute. This has to be one of the craziest things I've ever heard Jerry Jones say. He's talking as if Coleman and Smith were not that far away from each other in terms of talent.
All right. Well, Mike, you told me, and of course, we're not taking anything away from the great skills of Emmitt Smith, but you said, we both know that it can be close, but when the players and the fans know it, that's real.
Keep in mind, this is the same Coleman who just came into the league the week before from the Arena League. Up until that time, he never played a down in the National Football League. In fact, Dicta called him Lincoln Kennedy.
Well, what about this kid Lincoln Kennedy?
And Jones didn't even correct him.
44 weighs
Lincoln Coleman, guys, not Lincoln Kennedy. Yes.
This was either Jerry Jones trying to sell Coleman off in some kind of trade talk at the expense of his star running back by comparing him with a guy who only played one game in the NFL, or Jones is just being delusional. If you pay attention, Dicta read through the lines and called it a money grab.
I love it. That's your favorite player now because you only have to pay him $100,000. I love it. What?
Either way, this was horrible and vintage Jerry Jones. This was a night for legends, and a night where Emmitt Smith will prove to the world that he was the greatest running back in the league. I think every icon has their signature game, a game where we can look back and say that game defined their career. Kobe Bryant's 81 points
would be 18 for 20 from the line and an 81-point game.
Michael Jordan's massacre in Boston.
Nobody like him. Point blank. I never seen nobody play like he plays. And you can include all of them.
Walter Payton's 277 rushing yards. Babe Ruth's called shot.
I looked down at center field and I tore it. I said, I'm going to hit the next pitch ball right past the flagpole. Well, good Lord, must have been with me.
You can put this game up there with any of those legendary moments in history. They ran him into the ground until he broke his collarbone, and then they ran him into the ground again.
Short. Aikman fell down, gives to Smith. Smith has the first down.
It's going to start here like it's going to go to the right and then cut it all the way back in here. And there's no one that does this better than Emmitt Smith. See, he starts to the right. It's supposed to be up there in the middle. He feels something back here and then sees it.
Aikman again fell down, and Smith comes out of the pack. And Emmitt Smith run down by Greg Jackson. And Smith is hurt.
He carried the ball 32 times. But here's why I say that this game explains why he's the GOAT running back. Dallas ultimately ran a total of 66 plays on offense. Think about this for a second. Smith had 32 carries. Emmitt targeted Smith 10 times in the passing game. He caught all 10 targets along with a receiving touchdown. That's 42 touches. 42, which means that 63% of the Cowboys' offense revolved around Smith. 63% is crazy. Let's put this into perspective. Emmitt had 180 yards passing. 61 of those were thrown to Smith. Take away Smith's 61 yards, Emmitt has just 119 passing yards. He's 14 out of 20 with 0 touchdowns. Emmitt's passer rating goes down by nearly 20 points to just 85.21. Smith had more receptions and receiving yards than Michael Irvin. Smith literally beat the Giants by himself in the most important game of the season.
Now, Pat, there's Emmitt Smith going back into the game, and look at the fans don't like that. The fans know what Emmitt Smith has done to him. Look, he has 151 yards already. So when they see him coming on the field, the fans kind of went, oh no. I mean, he said, who's going to be a giant beater? And so far it's been Emmitt Smith. They've run it to him. He's running right, left, inside, outside. They passed it to him. This guy has done everything a running back can do. Look, the blitz is on. They don't get a good coverage on Emmitt Smith. Emmitt Smith gets too much money and he's overpaid. Got to get under those shoulder pads today and see who gets paid too much money. This is what great players get paid a lot of money for.
If Smith had these numbers without the injury, it still would have been a historical game. But the fact that he did this with just one arm cements Smith's GOAT status for me. This has to be one of the most legendary moments in sports history. There you have it, Cowboy Nation. Arguably the greatest season in Emmitt Smith's career. Now notice how I said arguably. That 1995 season was special too. But today we focused on the 93 season, a season that has gone down in glory. Until next time, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. And as always, thanks for watching.